Hello, thank you for joining us today. We are continuing with our segment on tapping the experience of alumni across the continent. We're going to talk about innovations, best practices, and resource connections. And I am delighted to have with me here today Felicia Masaki, who is a 2019 Mandela Washington Fellowship alumna from Tanzania, who joined us at Lehigh University for her fellowship. So it's wonderful to see you again and welcome back to our world. And I'd like to start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and the organization that you've created.
Okay, thank you so much, Kira. So first of all, I'd like to first take this opportunity to thank Lehigh University for this opportunity to represent my fellow alumni in this great discussion. So my name is Felicia Masaki. Thank you for a very nice introduction, Kira. I wear many hats. So I work as an assistant lecturer at the Ardhi University in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Economics, that is what I teach and that is what I've studied. And I lead an organization that I founded in 2016 that is called Mimi ni Nani. So that is it's a Pan-African leadership development social enterprise that works to invest in individuals from 8-year-old by equipping them so that we can raise a generation of change makers. So that's in a nutshell of what I do.
I'd like to start with talking about some of the partnerships and the resources that have made it possible for you to start this organization and make it successful.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. And I think it will take a day to answer that, but I'm going to be very brief. Because it's such a long journey, because I started Mimi ni Nani when I was working in another organization I was consulting with UNIDO, that is United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And at that time, it was just on ideation. And whenever I was creating the vision for Mimi ni Nani, when I thought of resources, I would just keep it down. So it would just be documented and I would just sit on it. So I thought I would need to have a lot of money, like sort of capital, and to have everything moving, like to hire a good team and to have everything happening, because it's a big project that I was having in mind and the vision was big. But to cut the story short, I just got to a moment where I was challenged to just start with what I have. And that was because I was courageous enough to believe in what I had and try to reach out to some people that I trusted. So one of them was my mentor, and another one was a very close friend of mine who encouraged me. He said, just sit down and pick a team, people that you really can rely on, and pitch to them and see if they can start, joining you. So my first resource was that team, which was composed of young people, university students. And I invited them to my place and I pitched them the idea and they bought it. And, we started planning for the 6 months right from there because they believed in it and they loved how it was planned. They said it is big and crazy, like crazy big and scary, but it's doable, and we relate to it because every young person wants to be empowered. Every young person believes that they have a potential, they have something, and they want to give back to themselves and to other people who are even less privileged. So that is where we started, and then we found out there are so many opportunities out there that that we don't know because we haven't dared enough to look out for. So we reached out to a public school that we thought we could start piloting for the program because it involved a lot. This is a program that we had to develop curriculum, we had to test it, we had to look for participants that would receive that and see how that would respond. So all that really happened slowly over time, and after the team was ready to work with me, things started to unfold. Like we got permission from the school to deliver the sessions every week, once a week. So that was, we're amazed by that, because in some schools, especially government schools, it's so hard to get the permissions. You have a lot of, so much bureaucracy. And then, going forward, opportunities like, so things like Yali RLC, a lot of doors also opened through that. I got a platform, I got people that I could collaborate with in future, but also there are these competitions, that are looking for social innovators. So we're always, reaching out to different opportunities that, we could apply and things like that. So recently we got a grant from one of the organizations that actually picked us from 2016 in a competition, and there was no any monetary gain, but they trained us. They trained us over time, and then they came to give us a grant in 2019. So, and we didn't have to do anything to get the grant, because they have seen us. We have been true to the process. We've been consistent and things like that. So that is how a number of doors have been opening. But I would say I didn't have money when we started. But it's the teamwork, it's mentors, it's peers that have been really supportive, and that's how things have been going on. And also, of course, the participants, when we started commercializing, people would buy into the ideas, parents would pay for the children, to access the services. So all that for us is part of the resources and opportunities that have been opening as a result of daring to pursue the vision.
It's been a wonderful story and a great success, and sounds like a lot of help along the way. And while you didn't have a lot of money for a team, you in fact got a team basically through working with people that you trust and know. Could you talk a little bit about the programs themselves, and what you do with the youth, and what you think the successful elements, the impact that it has, how does that work?
Okay, so maybe I would like to first start why Mimi ni Nani started. What problem are we seeking to solve? So we're looking at us as young people, young Africans, and just looking at Tanzania, where I come from. My country is so endowed with so much in terms of resources, but when at the same time we have resources, it's the youngest population, by the way, like over 50% is below 15 years old. So that is an advantage, that is an asset. But then when it comes to the level of development, when it comes to opportunities and the mindset of its people, it's still not proactive. It's still not that of people who are solving their own issues, their own problems. And as a result is we go through this education system that shapes us to be more of job seekers, to be more of dependents, and things like that. So we have problems, but I believe we have also the potential to solve them. Only that we either lack the mindset, the skill set, the exposure, the experience, and the support system. So that as a result results to a lot of crisis in our economy. We have youth who are entitled. We have people who are unemployed, and so it keeps coming up and it's bulging, it's becoming worrisome, and that is common in the whole of sub-Saharan region. So with Mimi ni Nani, we thought of how we could be a part of this solution, because if we wait for the education system to solve this problem, it's not going to happen. We go to career. I teach at the university, by the way. I'm a part of the education system, and I work with students, and I see a finalist, is not ready for the job market because they don't have the skills, they don't have the exposure. And so how can I be a part of this solution? That is actually what was burning inside of me until I was developing the ideas for this organization. So we designed programs that can first impart young people with skills training. So we're looking at what are the demand-driven skills, the relevant skills that can help young people to tap into the opportunities or to create them as well. So that is one thing. But another thing is, to give them skills is not enough. We need to provide them with the relevant exposure and experience, because that is also very important. So we're looking at how we can complement skills training and offering the exposure and experience necessary. But again, on top of that, we are looking at how Mimi ni Nani can be a platform for networks and opportunities. Because another thing is, as young people, we lack connections, we lack networks to resources and various opportunities. So that is the bridge that we're trying the gap that we're trying to bridge. And also, one final thing is on offering support system. So a lot of us repeat the same mistakes that maybe our parents made or whoever, because nobody was there to hold our hand or tell us this is not the way. So that is what we are doing. So we have mentorship programs alongside the skills training, the exposure, the experience necessary, and we make sure that we match a participant with a mentor just to make sure that they get the right guide, the right support. So that is the process of what we are doing and trying to build for our programs, which consist of, we have leadership development programs, we have career gear programs, and we have some events and forums that we do. So all those, and we keep on innovating on new programs just to have that, to implement the whole of that process, in one way or another. Yeah.
With so much going on, what was the impact of this eventful year and the pandemic crisis on the programs that you've been running, and maybe even on many of the partners that you've been working with? Talk a little bit about what your response to that was and what the challenges were.
Well, when the year started, now I'm rejoicing. I'm really happy right now because I think the crisis did me good in terms of it stretched me and helped us to grow. But at the beginning of the year, it really took us down because we in January we went to plan for the whole year, and we were ready to start the year. We had these cohorts throughout the year from February to December, which we do on face-to-face basis with the youth. So we didn't see it coming at all. And we had a plan to go online, but that was later. We thought we needed a lot of resources and things like that, like so much preparation. So we're just keeping it on hold. And so when the pandemic started, so we just started, putting off the cohorts that were supposed to be run. And as months were going on, we said, no, this cannot be happening like this. We have to, we are a business, we have to keep life going. But also we needed the engagement with young people. We wanted to know, what are young people, how are they experiencing this situation? Because that is basically what we are there for, So we wanted to keep the engagement going, but again, we were kind of hindered because our way of usually doing that was stopped. So we went back to the drawing board and now started to brainstorm on how we could go back, through a virtual experience. So that's when we launched an online program in May. That started in May until now. It's going on, and we had a very good response. We got about 100 participants from Kenya and Tanzania. And so we rolled out and we had a full set of sessions and amazing programs that have been going on. And we incorporated a lot of facilitators from across the continent. So that was very interesting and something that we did not see it coming. So thanks to COVID, and everyone was also open to adapting to it. We didn't use a lot of effort promoting so much because, people were just at home doing nothing. So that was a good opportunity for us to head off. And then, we've been learning through the whole process. And now I can tell you, Kira, we are all set up to roll out more of cohorts online. Actually, I find it to be even more convenient and much like it's scaling because we didn't know that we would reach people in Kenya through our programs. So now we're looking at how we can reach the sub-Saharan Africa with our cohorts because, the opportunity is so big and it's right there. So that's where we are going. and so this to us is like, it's a crisis that brought benefits.
Well, I'm especially happy because as you know, we are planning a to get together in Tanzania at some point through one of the reciprocal exchange grants, so which was also put off because of COVID. So I'm so excited personally to hear about all of the new opportunities that you found, and your smile says it all. I think, you know, the future is very, very bright. What I'd like to do in kind of closing is to, if you have any advice, suggestions, words of wisdom for your fellow alumni out there all over the continent, as to, you know, if they're thinking about creating an initiative or programs, what are some of the important pieces of advice that you would give to them?
Okay. Yeah. So that's a good one, because yeah, I'm just thinking about it, and you know, there's a lot of expectations that from external. You know, you have expectations for yourself, and then the expectations from outside, especially after being an alumni. Like, you know, it's Mandela Washington fellowship program, and so it can bring a lot of responsibilities. But yeah, again, you know, we should go back to that leadership development. We had a course on leadership development journey while we were there, and you know, it was mainly, you know, when we use the Clifton strengths, you know, looking at our strengths and how we can build on that. So at the end of the day, it goes back to the person and how they can invest in themselves to be, you know, the best that they can be, so that they can do, you know, they can do whatever they want to do, whether for their societies, their communities, their careers, and all. So what I would say, one is, you know, to seek more of investing in themselves, and how they can develop themselves. So this advantage that comes with, again, the COVID, you know, the virtual and all, I've been able to access a lot of free courses online that were very expensive before. Or, you know, we didn't have that mindset, like I can really have a serious course online, and you know, and really make progress. So I wish I could tell them, like, the for instance, for women, there is this 10,000 women Goldman Sachs, and so many other programs online that are available. So let's make the best use of these online resources. But another thing, again, that has come with this COVID effect as well, is how we are connected through this, you know, this online environment. It's very easy now to gather, to have. I just had a global assembly in one of the programs that I attended in 2016, and we're, you know, it's a lot of countries, and we were able to do that. But usually we were not able to do that because you have to pay for a plane ticket and attend the conference. So now there are lots of summits we can organize and get together, just alumni, and get ideas and build things together and encourage each other. You know, sometimes you just need to motivate each other, because you know, you're not alone. That's one thing that we need. And it's a tough journey. Entrepreneurship, or just life in general, can be very tough sometimes, and just seeing the faces of other people can be very encouraging. So I would say, you know, we should not keep a closed mind, a closed space, but we open up to these opportunities, and stay together and connect. And that's how we get more ideas, and we move on, and we cheer each other up. That's what I would say. And another thing that also has worked for me is to partner with each other. So for instance, in my online program, I have some facilitators who are part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program, alumni, but also even in the YALI East Africa that I was once a part of. And that's how we build collaborations. And, you know, that's how I would like in my board of advisors, board of directors, to have people maybe from, you know, the alumni, because I know them, I connected them, and things like that. That's how we develop Africa and things like that, by learning from each other and all. So I could talk over and over about that, but I think there are many ways that we can really, you know, unite our forces and encourage each other, no matter how far we are. And this is the opportunity. Like right now, this breaks the barriers of geography and other boundaries that could be hard to break. Just now the mindset is for me. My mindset is distracted. Like the things I was so lazy or rigid. Now with this, no, for me this is an opportunity to be more and to learn more. So in addition to what was there, so I hope everyone would look at it that way.
Well, those
Yeah.
are some great, not only great ideas, but great messages and inspiration for us to close on. So, Felicia, I just want to say what a pleasure it has been to have the opportunity to talk with you today. And I'm sure that all of the fellows across the continent are going to appreciate and learn from your words. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kira. It was really great. And thank you for this honor. Thank you.